Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video, how to super cool brew green tea. In this video, I'm going to be showing you my favorite way to make the most refreshing iced green tea possible. Let's go. By the end of this video, you are going to know the perfect way to make the most luxurious iced green tea possible for the summer. It's summer outside, but all of my neighbors have decided to do their gardening today. So it's a chorus of lawnmowers. So you're going to have to picture me on a hot beach or in the countryside and get ready because this tea is delicious. In the last video I did, I showed you how to do Kooridashi style brewing or ice brewing, a Japanese style of brewing to make a really refreshing tea. And I compared it with cold brewing, where you're taking ambient room temperature water and putting the tea to brew in the fridge. I felt that the Kooridashi brewing or ice brewing had a soft taste, very refreshing, but didn't have the requisite strength for my taste. And also I picked up that flat, stale taste that comes from melted ice cubes. I received lots of comments saying that I should have crystal clear ice cubes. We have tried all sorts of ice cubes. We've tried the cooler method. We've bought in all types of ice cubes, very, very clear ice cubes. And I still feel that when you melt ice cubes, there is a particular flat and stale taste which you can pick up in the tea. On the other hand, the cold brewing method produces a tea which is less vibrant, less refreshing, and has a little bit extra bitterness and warmth. And the goal here is to produce the most refreshing green tea possible. So we need to be stimulating the cold receptors on our tongue. Those receptors are related to the trigeminal system, which picks up not only temperature, but it also reacts to flavor. So we're going to be making the ultimate, and I have to say luxurious, iced green tea to max up the stimulation of those cold receptors to make the most refreshing tea possible. We have in front of us Fukamushi Sencha. This is the tea that we're going to be using. That's the tea that I talked about last week. I have to say we are now sold out of this tea. There's going to be more coming in September. You can replace this tea with other Japanese green teas. I would recommend breaking them up a little bit so that you've got more surface area for the extraction. Fukamushi style is naturally broken because of the deep steamed method. You can use other green teas or yellow teas, Chinese as well. You can experiment. All of the techniques that I'm going to be showing you today apply to those, but we're going to focus on this baby here. Right, let me go get some water. I told you it'd be geeky. This is the most extravagant way to make a refreshing green tea. Take what you want from these techniques, leave what you don't, what you feel is over the top, but I wanted to show you the pinnacle, the ultimate. And let's start with the water. This is filtered and granderized tap water, which has then been sitting for a couple of hours with these bamboo charcoal filters. I love these filters. They add a softness and a sweetness and extra texture to the water. But use your favorite bottled water, use a very well filtered tap water if you'd like, and see if you can get hold of some of these. I'll put a link in the description below. I have 250 mils of water here, and I have 11 grams of the Fukamushi Sencha. So we're brewing Gongfu style here, ice water, very cold water, Gongfu style. Very extravagant. If you want to cut down the amounts, you can, but in my opinion, and I've done these tests, believe me, I've done lots of tests, it doesn't give you the same richness. It's an excellent green tea, an excellent refreshing green tea, but not the same richness. Now, the temperature of the water. I'm not using ice. I don't want to use ice because of that flat, stale taste. I instead want to chill my water down to 10 degrees Celsius. That is the sweet spot for me, 10 degrees Celsius. So what I'm doing here is I am using a tried and tested method, using salt in ice cubes and water, so equal amounts of ice cubes, water, and a good helping of salt, and that creates super cooling. Now you can put water in the fridge at sort of 5 degrees and leave it overnight to cool down. That's fine, you can do that. However, again, in my opinion, there is a tendency for the water to sort of lose its vibrancy and maybe start to pick up some of the aromatics in the fridge. I really like to go all out if I'm going to make the ultimate refreshing green tea, and we are going to super cool it. So what's happening here is that the salt is lowering the melting point of the ice, and that means that that the ice stays in here and doesn't melt too quickly, and that can super cool this water with a lot of surface area around this metal jug, and it will cool down very, very quickly. So we're going to see it cool down super quickly. This is often used in ice cream. So stir the ice in and that will cool down to 10 degrees. Right, that water is now at 8 degrees here. Very, very cold. That took about a minute of stirring. So now we can take this out. And immediately we are going to pour this Sencha directly in. Give it a stir. I'm going to use the other side of this spoon so it doesn't go salty. And we're going to cover this with cling film into a fridge set at 4 degrees Celsius. And we're going to leave it for an hour and a half. The hour and a half is nearly up. I'm excited to taste. Of course, if you use less leaf, you're going to have to brew for longer periods of time. It's not going to have the same richness as with the Gong Fu brewing, but it will still make a delicious tea. Just go in every half an hour, give it a stir, put a straw in, taste it until it's the right strength for you. And if you want to prepare more than one luxury glass of this super cooled green tea, then of course you can brew more, larger quantities. Once it's reached the right strength, you can strain it off into a thermos and keep it sealed in the fridge, but it will oxidize. So try to time it so that there isn't too much of a gap between it being ready and the time of your serving. What I have in front of me are the garnishes, but these aren't just for looks. They add a whole other element to this tea. So while you can ignore them, I highly recommend that you give these a try, because I wanted to make sure that we kept the Fukamushi Sencha pure, unadulterated. We didn't want to flavor it with sugars or sweeteners or fruit juices like other iced teas. But this little garnish on the side just raises that refreshment level. I have here watermelon. Now, watermelon is a delicious, lightly sweet fruit. It's not going to dominate, it's not going to take over, but there are some shared volatile aromatics in watermelon that are also in tea, specifically the aldehyde hexanal. Hexanal has that amazing green aroma that comes from freshly cut grass. And if you smell watermelon rind, it has that incredible green scent, similar to cucumbers. Also in watermelon is geraniol, which is another really bright, fresh aroma, and that is going to all amp up the refreshment factor, the cooling factor of this drink. Also, there's going to be a little bit of sweetness that comes from the watermelon, which is just going to add that extra element to the tea. What I have here is some saline solution, basically just water and salt. Now, it's a very common tradition to salt watermelon, especially if it's not sweet enough, because salt is a flavor enhancer. It's going to bring out more of the flavor of anything sweet and salty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush the side of this watermelon with this salt water. Just salt water. You can make it as salty as you'd like. You could also sprinkle over coarse salt if you wanted that little flourish, but I like it to be even. Right, I've got here some matcha. This is Uji Hickory matcha. Again, we are pulling out all the stops for this tea. Pure luxury, so we're taking the best matcha possible. This is our master's matcha. Incredible. Has very similar flavors in the greenness of a sencha, but it's going to add a little bit of creaminess. It's going to accentuate those umami notes as well. So we want to add that in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this garnish, and let's see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to cut here like this. Right? And then I'm going to cut down the rind, because this rind is full of those green notes. If you just smell the rind of a watermelon, just bracing freshness, coolness, exactly what you want on a summer's day. So refreshing, very similar to cucumber, but a little bit sweeter. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dust this salted side of the watermelon with the Uji Hickory Matcha. If you've never had matcha and watermelon, I highly recommend it. Okay, garnish is now ready. Let me pull out the glasses from the freezer and get that tea. This glass has been sitting in the freezer for a few hours. I don't want to use any ice cubes. I don't want to dilute this tea at all. So we're keeping it as cold as possible by freezing the glass. We want the temperature of this tea to be 4 degrees because that is the most dense that water gets, and therefore we're going to have the thickest texture possible. Right, I'm running this rind around the rim so that we really have that incredible cut grass taste. And then I'm leaving this rind to dip into the tea itself. Again, all about accentuating those cool aromatics, those refreshing aromas. Here we go. Give this Fukamushi Sencha a little stir. And finally, the moment we've been waiting for, in goes this beautiful, vibrant green. For everybody thinking, why are you using a plastic filter? This is the best filter that I have for filtering Fukamushi, because as anybody who's drunk Fukamushi Sencha will tell you, it does tend to clog up filters a little bit. As you can see, just get every last drip, every drop is precious. Check out that color, vibrancy. I'm going to give this a little stir just to help that through. And there you have it. Get every last drop. As I said, those are gold. Let's take a look. The finished drink, a bit exuberant, I will grant you that. Definitely not your average green tea. You can cut down that watermelon a little bit more. It'd probably be a little bit more elegant, but check it out. This is a true treat. Super cooled Fukamushi Sencha. And for me, well, let's taste it. But when I was doing my tests, this is the ultimate way to drink this tea. Okay. The aromatics of those, of the watermelon rind hits your nose first. That's the prequel. You know that something very refreshing and bracing is going to come because you can pick up the aromatic, that cucumber freshness from the watermelon rind. The temperature is perfect. 4 degrees makes it very thick and viscous and cooling. I didn't want one of those sort of shaken drinks that had bits of ice or, you know, the sort of shards of ice in the tea, whilst being very refreshing, and I do enjoy that. What I wanted here was something really, really luxurious, smooth and thick, and that 4 degrees really, really contributes to that. Let me give it another taste. The flavor, the aromatics of the watermelon rind marry perfectly with the cucumber greenness and cut grass greenness of this tea. There is no bitterness, but there's enough bite, there's enough texture, there's enough depth at the end. So you're going from really, really cool aromatics and cool sensation, cucumbers, green melons, moving in through that cut grass, a little bit vegetal. You're getting some of that umami, the savory note coming through, but it's really, really understated. And what I love about this tea compared to the Kooridashi is that whilst attenuating the bitterness, so there's zero bitterness, you are getting enough of a a bite, enough of a depth, enough of an aftertaste, especially in the back of my tongue. And it's lemony and citrusy and just singing. Right, now, let's give this watermelon Garnish a bite. So I'm going to bite down on the matcha and salted watermelon. The salt brings out all of the flavors, intensifies the sweetness. The matcha and watermelon combination is great. I can get it through my nose. The aromatics, it's just fresh, almost like a sea air freshness, but really cold sea air. And that cut grass combo with the Fukamushi. I'm going to spin the glass to make sure I get a little bit more of that watermelon rind. Oh. Please try this. Please try this. That has to be, for me, the pinnacle of cold green teas. Everything is on point. The water is, there's no taste of that melted ice cube staleness or flatness. It's just, it tastes pure, it tastes sweet, it tastes soft, it's viscous. Ah, it's amazing. I totally love this drink. And if I was served this at a high-end restaurant, I would be singing its praises. Look, I can't stop gushing over this drink. I love it so much. I highly recommend that you try this super cooled, really low temperature brewing. 10 degrees is, I think, the sweet spot. Make sure you pick good water. Make sure you use a lot of leaf. Make sure that you get the glass in the freezer so that you have a cold glass rather than having to add ice cubes. Serve it at 4 degrees and see if you can come up with a garnish as good as that. If you do come up with other recipes, please stick them down in the comments. And if you try this super cooled Fukamushi Sencha iced tea, please let me know what you think. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos. Taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com. And if you're ever in London, then come visit our tea house in Camden. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the supreme stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.